For most of human history, wood was the foundation of survival, used for shelters, ships, tools, weapons, and bridges, and yet, ancient craftsmen faced the same universal enemy modern builders battle today: rot. Time, moisture, insects, and fungi devour untreated wood, sometimes in only a few seasons. But in many early societies, from Scandinavia to the Mediterranean, craftsmen developed a near-magical ritual that produced timber capable of lasting centuries. Some of their beams still stand today, baffling engineers and outlasting modern chemically treated lumber. This is the forgotten ritual that made ancient wood nearly immune to decay. Ancient builders believed that trees contained life force that rose and fell with seasons, moon phases, and even weather patterns, but beneath the mythology was a surprisingly accurate understanding of botany. The ritual began with harvesting during deep winter, when sap dropped to its lowest, a waning moon, when moisture inside the tree was believed to retreat, dry freezing weeks, which tightened fibers and discouraged pests. Modern forestry confirms that winter-felled timber has lower internal moisture, fewer sugars for fungus to feed on, and reduced shrinkage and cracking. Once felled, the tree was stripped of its bark while still fresh. Ancient carpenters knew that bark trapped moisture, the perfect breeding ground for rot. But what came next was unusual. The logs were set onto long wooden racks, slightly tilted so they could bleed out their sap for days or weeks. This slow draining helped pull internal moisture to the surface naturally. Only after the bleeding stage were the logs dragged into large, airy sheds, open on all sides but shielded from direct rain. This allowed slow seasoning, which took months or even years. Fast drying was considered a sin. Slow curing was sacred. Many ancient cultures practiced a strange but powerful ritual, charring the outer layer of the wood. In Scandinavia, it was done with torches, in the Mediterranean, with heated bronze plates, in Eastern Europe, with glowing coals brushed along the grain. This wasn't full burning, just a shallow scorch. The effects were incredible. Carbonized wood resists moisture, insects avoid charred outer layers, fungi cannot colonize the burned surface, UV rays break down wood far more slowly. The Japanese preserved this method in what we now call shosugiban, but Europeans used a nearly identical ritual more than 1,000 years earlier, and then lost it. This was the heart of the ritual, and it's the one technique modern builders just can't replicate at industrial scale. Large kettles were filled with mixtures of pine resin for waterproofing, linseed or hemp oil for deep penetration, beeswax for surface sealing, animal fats for flexibility and durability, and tannin-rich plant extracts like oak galls for natural antifungal properties. The mixture was heated until it bubbled. Charred timber was then brushed repeatedly, rolled in troughs or even fully submerged for hours. The heat opened the wood's pores, drawing the oils deep inside. As the wood cooled, the mixture solidified, forming a waterproof, flexible barrier inside the grain itself. So, different cultures used different final steps, but they all aimed at one thing: mineralizing the wood. Mediterranean builders, for example, would bury beams in clay pits for weeks. The clay's minerals bonded to the oils, creating a kind of stone-like shell. Norse builders stored timber in coastal air, letting salt crystals form inside the grain. Meanwhile, Eastern Europeans rinsed beams with tannin-rich river mud and left them to cure in the wind. And Middle Eastern craftsmen soaked wood in natron, or lime water, which boosted the pH and killed bacteria. In all cases, the result was the same wood that resisted decay for generations. Before installation, there was a final stage exposing the timber to the elements, but in a controlled way. Morning dew would harden the resin layers, sunlight fused oils into the grain, wind evaporated excess moisture, and frost expanded fibers, locking the treatments even deeper. To the ancients, this was a spiritual step. To modern engineers, it was genius. Examples of wood treated using this literal include Norwegian stave churches, which are over 900 years old. Roman harbor pilings have been preserved underwater for 2,000 years. Viking longhouse beams are still solid after 1,000 winters. And early Slavic grain barns, date all the way back to the 1100s. Modern treated lumber, well, it lasts about 30 to 60 years outdoors, but ancient ritual timber, that can last 600 to 1,200 years. This wasn't mysticism, it was advanced materials science with no written formulas, only generational craft knowledge. The ancient method disappeared because industrial speed replaced artisanal longevity, kiln drying became standard, chemical preservatives seemed easier, guild secrets died with the craftsman. Yet none of our modern treatments, really match ancient durability. Today's sustainable builders and archaeologists are, piecing the ritual back together. Experiments show that water absorption drops by up to 95%, fungus growth nearly stops, rot resistance reaches, medieval levels, wood lasts far longer with zero toxins. The ancient timber ritual wasn't just superstition, it was actually deep environmental engineering, refined over centuries and, honestly, nearly lost forever. A forgotten technology, finally rediscovered.